Dear members of Rare Disease International, dear colleagues, this year, RDI, EURDIS, and the NGO Committee for Rare Diseases launched a call for the adoption of the United Nations resolution on addressing the challenges of persons living with a rare disease and their families. The peak moment was the RDI online event of the 4th of March on Rare Disease Day with the NGO Committee for Rare Diseases and EURDIS, together with the ambassadors of 6 UN member states expressing their strong support: Qatar, Brazil, Spain, Japan, Thailand, and France. Together, some of them formed a core group of UN member states, with Qatar, Brazil, Spain, and France maybe joining soon. The aim is to get this resolution adopted by the 193 member states of the UN at the General Assembly in New York in their session, which will start in September 2021. So we're aiming for an adoption of this UN resolution by October or November of this year. So that's our timeline. So why do we want this resolution? We want the persons living with a rare disease and their families to be recognized as a vulnerable population. This is what is already mentioned, remember, in the Universal Health Coverage Political Declaration. So we want to reinforce that. Second, we want to promote the policies toward the inclusion and participation in society of persons living with rare diseases. And we want their human rights to health, education, work, and leisure to be respected. We know that around the world, the first issue faced by persons living with a rare disease is actually their invisibility and lack of recognition, the lack of understanding about their condition and their situation, the stigma and discrimination that this can provoke in healthcare, in education, in employment, in leisure, in society at large. And we know that this impact is felt by the whole family and causes overall increased isolation and impoverishment. So what does a UN resolution would change? A UN resolution from the General Assembly in New York would bring visibility within the UN system as much as in its member states at the national level. It would act as a catalyzer for actions and policies, both at the global level and also at the national level in countries around the world. The motto, to leave no one behind, which is at the core of the UN Agenda 2030 with the Sustainable Development Goals, fits for purpose for the rare diseases. It was agreed in 2015 by the UN member states, giving themselves until 2030 to make it a reality. So indeed, we need to be aware ourselves that by promoting 6,000 rare diseases and 300 million persons with high vulnerabilities, we are indeed helping the global community and the UN to reach its goal. RDI and its members, EURDIS as much as any of you as members of RDI, know from their common experience, advocacy experience for persons living with rare disease for decades, that all population needs have to be addressed across these 7 Sustainable Development Goals, the famous SDGs. SDG 1 on poverty, SDG 3 on health, SDG 4 on education, SDG 5 on gender, SDG 8 on work and economic growth, SDG 9 on innovation, and SDG 10 on inequalities. So why now? Why do we need to act now? Because the time to act is now. After years of preparation, talking about it, putting in place each pieces of the puzzle to get there, here we are. Now is the time. Policymakers and other stakeholders around the world must hear our voice, your voice, and give the level of attention that persons living with a rare disease deserves within the global agenda. This means that it is time for us, the global rare disease community, to mobilize even further in parallel to the mobilization of the member states in New York. We are very proud to count with a very active community that devotes itself to making progress at national level. That's your action. And that has, in a short period of time, helped us make strides in advocating within the UN system. We encourage you to take action together now in this common effort to make the UN resolution a reality. Each country will count in September or October when the vote will come. So you need to support it now through your officials. You are the one who can make that difference.
Indeed, RDI, together with Eurordis and the NGO Committee for Rare Diseases, have worked hard to gather the voices of the community and share the needs expressed by the community into 5 simple key asks that the UN resolution should call for. So these 5 key asks cover the following areas: respect for human rights and inclusion in society of persons living with the rare disease and their families, appropriate care to improve health and social outcomes towards universal health coverage, promotion of national strategies and measures by UN member states to leave no one behind, recognition in the UN system by integrating and giving visibility to the challenges faced by persons living with the rare disease into the UN agencies and programs, monitoring progress and implementation on the status of persons living with the rare disease worldwide. So in order to make the UN resolution and its 5 key asks a reality, we want to make sure that advocates representing persons living with the rare disease and their families do have the tools they need. So we have created a set of tools, free and available to anyone who wants to participate in the campaign. These tools can be downloaded on the websites of both RDI and Eurordis on a dedicated web page that is meant to be dynamic and will progressively be updated with more and more tools over the next few months. With the launch of the web page today, you will find a concept note that you can share with your policymakers, with ministries of health, or social policy or foreign affairs, the permanent mission of your country to the UN in New York. The concept note explains why we call for a UN resolution and details also the 5 key asks. You will also find a template letter for national rare disease groups to national authorities asking for their support towards the UN resolution. You will also find a template press release to share with media contacts and raise awareness locally. And finally, you will have a social media toolkit with examples of posts, images to share on social media. So please join us in this huge common effort. Use the tools and reach out anytime. Let's make our voices heard at the United Nations. And for more information on the campaign, you can visit our websites. Thank you.